everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's nice
Yeah,
to see you.
yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Uh,
So, I wanted to tell you a story. This particular story is set in a place called Blanchardstown. Maybe some of you have heard of it before. Yeah? The story involves a bird, a magpie to be specific, whose name is Shay. Has anybody here ever seen a magpie before? Yeah, some of you have. So Shay was no ordinary magpie, and that's a really important part of this story. He had bright yellow feathers, which made him stand out from the other magpies his age. Shay was really, really proud of his yellow feathers because, well, in a way, they made him totally unique. He lived in an oak tree with sprawling branches and long, deep roots that stretched deep into the soil. Now, lots of birds lived in this tree, but Shay lived in a nest on the highest branch of the tree with the rest of his family. There was his younger brother, whose name was Dada, and his older brother, whose name was Fee. There was also his mum and his dad. Shay was in the middle, and he loved living in his nest. He loved it because he got to live close to the sky, and he got to observe all of the unusual things that human beings do every day. For example, he would see the boys and girls early every single morning as they travelled to a strange and mysterious building that was called Squell Thomas. Now, Shay wasn't quite sure why exactly they went there every day, but he figured it must be for something very, very important. And like all magpies, Shay loved to collect things. And over the past few months, he had built up a particularly impressive collection of keyrings that were brightly coloured and in the shape of different characters. Some of them Shay recognised, others not so much. So there was a hedgehog whose name was Sonic, and there was a round yellow man with a big happy smile on his face, and a peculiar creature that was half spider and half man. I think Shay overheard a human once calling it Spider-Man. Does anyone here know who I'm talking about? Yeah?
Well done.
So, this is the Spider-Man in our story. Shay also loved to collect flap attacks. Oh, sorry. I should probably explain that bit. So, flap attacks are collectible cards that represent the different players in the Wing League. The Wing League is an important competition that happens every year. It's where birds from all over the world take part in different team sports. So, for example, there is the 500-meter swoop. There's also the beak hockey relay. And there's also Shay's favourite sport of all, which is called featherball. Pa, 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 pa. Now, in many ways, featherball is a little bit like football. Has anyone here ever heard of football before? Yeah? So it's very similar to football in that there's a ball. Shay, would you be okay to be the ball for this next bit? Thanks so much. And there's also 2 sets of goals. And the team who score the most amount of goals in a featherball match wins. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, different birds compete in the Wing League in order to win the very prestigious Wing League Cup. And for their team to come in top place on the Wing League leaderboard, Shay collects different flap attacks of all of his favourite players. So some of these include some well-known birds like Robin Van Persie and David Peckham. And there's also Wayne Rooney. But Shay's favourite player of all time is the reigning featherball champion and Wing League top scorer, Neymar Falcon. A bird so fast, zing, so agile. He is internationally acclaimed for scoring the most amount of goals ever in a Wing League season. So, our story takes place on a very ordinary day. Shay and his older brother, B, were playing flap attacks on a nearby branch, when all of a sudden they noticed a strange figure in the sky. They noticed that this strange figure was coming closer and closer to their nest. The two brothers began to get very worried and scared. As they could clearly see that this mysterious figure in the sky was in fact a large bird, and it was hurtling towards their nest at lightning speed. The two brothers quickly flew to a nearby hiding spot to take shelter from this strange and mysterious beast. After some time had passed, they plucked up the courage to come out of their hiding spot and take a look. They could see that the strange bird had landed on the branch where they were playing flap attacks just a few moments ago. They could see that the bird was quite tired and very stressed. He was breathing heavily. And he appeared to be panicking about something. Ever so slowly, Shay and Fee stepped closer to see what was going on. Are you okay? Asked Shay. The strange bird was startled. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't see you there. It's just, well, I'm a little bit flustered. Shay and Fee stepped even closer. I hope you don't mind me asking, said Fee, but who are you exactly? Oh, yes, of course. I'm so sorry. How rude of me not to introduce myself. My name is Morris. I'm a messenger pigeon. Shay and Fee looked at each other with curiosity. And you are? Asked Morris. Well, I'm Shay, said Shay. And this is my older brother, Fee. We're both magpies. Just in case, that wasn't obvious already. I see, said Morris. Well, I'm sorry to barge in on you like this, but it's just that, I was on my way to Brazil with a very important delivery, when all of a sudden I got sidetracked by a giant seagull in the city centre. Shay could see that Morris was quite shaken up. His feathers looked frazzled, and he had a very worried look in his eye. Morris went on to explain what happened. You see, I was on my way to Brazil, and next thing, this giant seagull swooped at me and stole a very important package that I had tucked under my wing. Oh, it all happened so fast. He flew straight at me and then he went off in another direction and I didn't see where he went. Oh, it's all a bit of a blur. And now I don't have the package that I meant to deliver and I don't know what I'm going to do. Suddenly, Morris burst into tears. Oh, Shay and Fee. Oh, what am I going to do? I have to get to Rio de Janeiro by midnight or else... Oh, it doesn't bear thinking about. Shay and Fee quickly ran over to Morris to give him a big hug and to let him know that everything was going to be okay. I've never heard of this place called Rio de Janeiro before, Morris. Is that somewhere nearby in Blanchardstown? Maybe me and Fee could help you get there. Morris began to cry even harder. Oh, no, Shay! It's in Brazil! In South America! A different continent entirely! Shay had never been to Brazil before, but he did know that Brazil was the team that his favourite Flapatax player, Neymar Falcon, played for. Oh. Shay went out to ask Morris what exactly was in this mysterious package that got stolen by the seagull earlier that day. Well, you see, said Morris, the Wing League Championship final is happening tonight in Brazil. And in order for every team to take part, all of the players need to have their very own Flapatax card. It's a new rule they've introduced this season. Very silly if you ask me. Anyways, if a player does not have their Flapatax card for any reason, then they automatically become disqualified and they can't play with their team, potentially meaning that their team might lose their place on the Wing League leaderboard. Shay and Fee looked at each other with curiosity. So, Shay said, can I ask, who exactly was this Flapatax card meant to be for? As in, which player? Oh, you've probably never heard of him before, said Morris. He's just this low-key national treasure called Neymar Falcon. Shay's eyes lit up immediately. Neymar Falcon was his hero, a player he longed to meet ever since he started collecting Flapatax as a young magpie. So, Shay said, you're telling me that you need a Flapatax card with Neymar Falcon on it? Exactly, said Morris. It's totally hopeless. And I am so going to lose my job in the pigeon delivery service on Monday when they find out about all of this. Wait, said Shay. This might just be your lucky day. Without a moment to lose, Shay flew back to his nest and retrieved his very rare Neymar Falcon Flapatax card from where he keeps it safe. At lightning speed, he flew back to the branch where Morris was, with his Neymar Falcon Flapatax card tucked securely in his beak. Morris, I know this has been a really, really stressful day for you. And even though Neymar Falcon is my favourite player of all time, and this is a really, really rare Flapatax card, I think it's more important that you take it and you bring it to Neymar Falcon in Brazil tonight so that he can play in the game. Morris squawked to the high heavens with joy. I can't believe it! I just can't believe it! There it is! The Neymar Falcon Flapatax card! The exact same one that the seagull snatched from me earlier this afternoon. Oh, Shay, how can I ever repay you? You saved me, us, everyone. This selfless act might just be what allows Neymar Falcon to play in the Wing League tournament tonight, and for Brazil to keep their top place on the Wing League leaderboard. And more importantly, allows me to keep my job in the pigeon delivery service. Now, Shay thought Morris was being a little bit overly dramatic, but he went with it anyways. You're welcome, Morris. I'm just really happy to do a good deed. And with that, Morris wrapped his feathers around Shay. He delicately placed the Neymar Falcon Flap Attacks card underneath his wing to keep it secure. Safe travels, said Shay, and he wished Morris well on his way. But just as Morris was about to take flight, he had a light bulb moment. This might sound crazy, said Morris, but would you like to hop on my back and come with me to Brazil to watch the match tonight? I mean, it is your Flap Attacks card after all, Shay, so it's only fair that you would be the one to give it to Neymar Falcon yourself. Shay could hardly believe what was happening. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. Really? I could come with you to Brazil and watch the match? And meet Neymar Falcon in real life? Yeah, said Morris, but we kind of have to get a move on if we're going to get to Brazil by midnight. I'm kind of on a tight schedule. So, are you in? Without even thinking, Shay jumped onto Morris's back. He had tears in his eyes. Everything was happening so fast. He looked back at his older brother Fee. Go for it, Shay. I'll tell Mum and Dad that you'll be back tomorrow. And don't forget, tell Neymar Falcon that I say hello when you see him. And with that, Morris and Shay took flight. They travelled away from Shay's nest, away from Blanchardstown and towards the sea. Shay had never been on such a wild and exciting journey before, so far away from the place where he lived. They swooped and swerved through the sky, moving higher and higher until they were moving through rain clouds. They glided higher and lower until they were moving through a snow-capped mountain. They moved through a giant rainforest with the biggest trees that Shay has ever seen before, much bigger than the oak tree that he lives in Blanchardstown. As they were gliding through the sky, all of a sudden, the bright lights of the city of Rio de Janeiro came into focus. Shay could see in the distance the Avian Stadium, where the Wing League tournament was about to take place in a few moments from now. Buckle up, said Morris. We're going in for landing. And with that, they began to slowly descend until they were right outside the main entrance to the stadium. Move! Move out of the way! Out of my way! Important delivery coming through, shouted Morris, as he and Shay bustled past the thousands of eager bird fans waiting for the match to begin. They travelled up narrow nooks. They travelled down tiny passageways, past dressing rooms, ole, 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 until they suddenly stopped in their tracks. There he was, standing right in front of them. Neymar Falcon. He was even more majestic and impressive in real life. He had a bright yellow beak and the brightest feathers you have ever seen in your life. Shay began to tremble. He was so overcome with nerves and excitement. His claws went numb and the tips of his feathers began to tingle. Ever so slowly, he stepped forward. He retrieved the Flap Attacks card from underneath Morris's wing, where he had it stored securely. Go for it, Shay, whispered Morris. And with that, Shay stepped closer to where Neymar Falcon was standing. Hello, Mr. Neymar Falcon, sir. It's nice to meet you. Here's your flap attacks card. I hope the game goes really well. Neymar Falcon looked at him graciously. Thank you, he said in a Brazilian accent. What's your name? It's Shay, said Shay, still a little starstruck. Well, Shay, would you like to stay and watch the game with me tonight? I have a really good feeling about our chances of winning. Of course, said Shay. It would be my total honour. Thank you so much. Great, said Neymar Falcon. Let's go. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much again, Shay, for saving the day. I really couldn't have done this without you. Shay had the most incredible time watching the match. Neymar Falcon scored a record 6 goals during the match, and Brazil got to keep their spot as top of the Wing League leaderboard. Later that evening, Shay travelled back to Blanchardstown, and he recounted his adventure to his family and friends. Nobody was quite able to believe what had happened. Oh my God, he met Neymar Falcon? What? It's a good thing you've got those yellow feathers, Shay, said Fee. You were already dressed in Brazil's colours, and you didn't even realise. And as for Morris, well, he got to keep his job in the pigeon delivery service after all. And as a token of his gratitude, he used to visit Shay from time to time and let him hop on his back whenever he had to travel to different countries to deliver important packages. Shay got to travel to loads and loads of different countries and attend all of the major Wing League Championship matches. He was envied by all of the birds in Blanchardstown as being the only magpie to have ever met his hero, Neymar Falcon, in real life. And every now and again, whenever Shay would think back to that faithful moment, a little teardrop would come into his eye. And a big, bright smile would erupt across his face. Best day ever.